Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel, Jesse's Occupational Awareness Show. As always, I'm your host, Jesse, and it is now, day 5 of my leave, aka my staycation, and so far, it's been everything I hoped it was going to be. Recharging the batteries, just relaxing. Had quite a bit of time to myself, so figured I'd do a special Wednesday edition episode for you guys. It's probably going to mess up my viewers that are used to the Sunday videos, but adaptability, flexibility, roll with the changes, right? The last couple of videos I had been flaming on Jones really hard, and I figured it was time to go ahead and put a bow on the situation, and let's talk about how he finally ended up. All right. Once you got assigned segregation at Styles unit, you pretty much had to get paroled to get out of there. Okay. I had put in for multiple transfers. I put in to get transferred to the GIST, the LeBlanc unit, which were the neighboring units over to Styles. I put in for transportation. I put in for heavy equipment. I even put in for general population and night shift changes. Okay. I was shotgunning shift assignments. I wanted off of seg day shift. I needed a change. I'd been doing it for almost 2 years at that point, and I just wanted to switch it up. But none of those transfers ever came through. I was stuck day shift 1-1 assignment, Lieutenant Raymond. Supervisors, it was a different story. They would work all over the penitentiary. It wasn't uncommon to have a different lieutenant work with us temporarily. It was certainly not uncommon to have different sergeants work with us. By virtue of the number of positions, there were more sergeants than there were lieutenants. So I didn't work with Jones every day. Jones would get shuffled around, different sergeants would come in. This was done by design. That way, when a supervisor was short and one was needed somewhere, the individual at least had an idea of how the area was supposed to be run and what they were supposed to do in it. Unless you were Jones, who didn't seem to know. I'm not even going to get into it, man. The day I saw him with his chevrons on, upside down on his collars, man, and I mentioned it to him, and he looks down and says, "Oh, well, this way I can see that they're facing the right way." I'm like, "No, dude, you're backwards." He's like, "Carter, don't you have a post to stand?" This is when I was walking out of turnout, ready to go down to the pod. The hell? Sorry, I heard something outside. It sounded like a vehicle grating its gears. I heard that before. Anyway, just snide little snarky things that he and I would have from there. The two situations that I knew of individuals getting reassigned from segregation, let me back that up just a bit. So the supervisors, yes, they would work different areas. The only time a seg boss would work anywhere else in the penitentiary, general population, if they were shorthanded, they would pull from segregation first, and then they would start putting call-outs for overtime and comp time individuals. And you didn't get asked if you wanted to work in seg, not seg. You didn't ask if you wanted to get assigned to gen pop for the day. You just did. And I talked about some of the different stories, how I had worked different buildings, and when I went into the protective custody area, the CO cold-shouldered me, and the inmates just instantly all turned against me. I talked about that conspiracy theory in a couple of other videos. You can look that one up. It's part of the Why I Resigned series. But it was just a temporary thing. When you were done, if general population didn't need you anymore, you'd go back to seg. Sometimes they'd keep us for the whole day. And when you were done for that day, when you came back to work the next, you went right back to seg. Okay? Like I said, all my requests for transfers were on deaf ears. I kind of think it had a lot to do with that major who had it out for me when I called her out in turnout that morning. They were probably hoping that I would quit by keeping me there because they knew I wanted to transfer so bad. And, well, they got what they wanted. So, we were tough to get reassigned. We'd get moved around on an as-needed basis. Supervisors, they pretty much did it all the time. The 2 times that I know of individuals that got reassigned were for disciplinary procedures. There were 2 officers who kind of always worked together, 2 white dudes. They always wore TDC ball caps, and they had sunglasses set up on the brim. I never saw them actually put the sunglasses on their face. And here they are with these sunglasses on their head, fucking 6 o'clock in the morning when it's dark outside. And in the wintertime, it'd be dark by the time we left because at 6:30 in the evening, it's dark down there. You guys know. And they still have them damn sunglasses on their head. Look like absolute total two tool bags. Didn't get along with each other. We didn't really do anything to dislike each other other than we never worked together. And for some reason, we just developed a dislike for each other and just kind of cold shouldered each other. Anyway, in their situation, they got busted for putting multiple inmates in the day rooms. Depending on the security level classification, segregation, it's levels 1, 2, and 3, 1 the least, 3 the most. When you pull an inmate out and put him in the day room, if he's a level 1 classification, you can take another level 1 classification at the time. I don't know how it is now. You could take another level 1 and put them in the same day room together, so long as they agreed to it. If either one didn't want to go, you couldn't put them in there. That was a security risk. They could start fighting, and then we got problems from there. But if they wanted to house together, yeah, it was a way to pull extra inmates out, and it made my day easier because I could get more individuals struck off my board and be done with offender movement. You couldn't put a level 1 and a level 2 together. Had to be level 1, level 2, 3 by themselves. Under no circumstances were they supposed to be around anybody else but themselves or a CO. Of the nature of their classification. Well, apparently these guys were putting level 1s and level 2s together. I don't know if they just didn't read the board correctly, or I'm pretty sure they were trying to get by on it. I don't know. That's speculation. I like to think it just slipped their mind, but I'm pretty sure they did it on purpose. Trying to get done early so they could stand around and do nothing. And I guarantee an inmate snitched on them. Inmate filled out an I-60 form reporting it. Cameras were reviewed. Those guys were reassigned. Coming into turnout one morning, we noticed two guys were short. Where are they at? They call in, what's going on? And Lieutenant Raymond let us know, I don't remember what their names were, that they had been reassigned general population because they were housing different classification inmates in the day rooms together, and that was a no-no. And I'm sitting there thinking, hold up, take this back a second. I've been putting in multiple transfers, and they're not happening. These two guys mess up, and they're transferred out. So after turnout, we get our assignments. As I'm getting ready to leave, I stop by the desk, and I was like, hey, LT, can I speak at you a second? What you got, Carter? Hey, man, I've been putting in multiple transfers, and I can't get reassigned. These guys violate policy, and they get reassigned to Gen Pop. So all I need to stop right there, Carter. I don't want to hear you say that. That's not the way to go. You know what needs to be done. Do it right. Basically, I was implying if I do that, could I end up where they were? I didn't. All right. I did the right thing. So, they were gone. I was still there. Jones, he had multiple violations. And from what I had heard, I don't know 100% for sure, but from what I had heard in passing conversation, the day that me and the other officer had called out multiple times for supervisory assistance, and he basically ignored the radio calls until it was too late and we had a problem on our hands in the pod, that had been heard all throughout the facility. I'm told it was to the point that general population supervisors were requesting to go into this, but because they had other things going on, it's called abandoning your posts. They were assigned the supervisor of where they were. They couldn't leave that post. I guess there was nobody else to respond or nobody wanted to, and the question was brought up, where was Jones? You couldn't go anywhere in SEG without being on camera, okay? There were cameras absolutely everywhere. And I want to say that the footage was reviewed, and he was chilling in the office. He could have responded anytime he wanted to. He didn't. Granted, this is what I've heard. I wasn't there. I was in the pod dealing with those guys. Strike that up to other multiple complaints. Officers had written him up officers had flat out written statements. If they had to work with Jones, they were going to call in. If they knew that Jones was on shift, they'd call up ahead and ask, and somebody would tell them. And if they heard that Jones was a supervisor, they'd request a comp day, or they just wouldn't show up and they'd take a sick day. It was bad. So, what's TDC do? Do they decide to fire the guy? No. They reassign him to general population. Let's not solve the problem. Let's just move it around. All right. The day that he gets ready to leave, it just like a normal day. I was sitting in turnout, I had my little calendar out. I was marking off which day it was that I was working. A lot of guys would mark off the days that they had worked and didn't work. So that way, if you were short a day, HR would do that. You were here on Thursday, the 13th, they marked you down as off. You missed a day of time. Well, they'd show that calendar that they were there. I never had a problem with it, but I kept tally of it like that myself. You know, if you're on shift August 1st through the 4th, on, and I do off for the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And it just go from there. Anyway, I was sitting in there checking off my calendar. Raymond goes, "Shift, got some bad news for everyone." And they were like, "Oh, motherfucker, what?" Yeah, the rumblings are going, chairs are shifting. Like, I know he's going to be missed. Sergeant Jones is no longer going to be working with us. And the chorus of yeehaws and yahoos and thank the Lord, oh my God, we're so happy. The room erupted. People in the back started standing up and clapping. Raymond's like, whoa, no, stop all that right now. That's not the way to, and he started laughing. His voice broke up and started chuckling. The best part about it, you can't time this shit more perfectly. Jones was about 3 steps from outside the door when the room started erupting. And when we were in turnout, the door would close and it would lock from the inside. You couldn't open it from the outside. That kept, if any officers were late and they tried to sneak in, they couldn't. They'd hang out outside and supervisor would deal with them after that for being tardy. So Jones is standing outside and he's looking in. It's one of those old school doors that has the long, thing that we had in grade school that you can look in, a little narrow window in the door, vertical cutout glass, little bars in it. He's staring in that thing while we're all just hooting and hollering. And somebody looks over and like, hey, there's a guest of honor. Goes over, pops the door, and there's old Jones, turns sideways to squeeze himself into the door. By that point, we had quieted down as best as we could and settled back in our seats. And he starts to give us a speech. He wants to thank us for being the best shift that he's worked with here. And he feels like he's given back so much to all of us. We're all so highly trained and he's so proud of everybody. He wants to stay with us so much, but his services are needed elsewhere within the prison. He's going over to general population. There's a supervisor shortage. Bullshit. Yeah, you hear comments just popping off left and right from the back. And Jones just rolls on like it's not even happening. Raymond's just sitting there looking at him. And I'm just staring the guy in the face like, do you actually believe this bullshit that you're saying? I'm pretty sure he actually did. Okay, I believe he did. He says he wants to thank everyone, and anytime any of us wants to come over and work with him over in Gen Pop, they'll more than likely be able to find him over in 8 building. And I went, they're trying to get his ass to quit. They're not going to fire him. They're trying to run him out. 8 building was a whole separate ball game. 8 building warriors is what they called them guys that worked there, man. Just bad dudes. I don't know what that word was I was trying to say. He finishes up his speech, gets ready to leave the room, and just as he's walking out, Sorrell and Campbell in the back, like, "Get your fat ass out of here, Jones. Get on out of here, motherfucker." And the room erupts. They stand up and everyone starts clapping. "Yeah, all right. Congratulations on your reassignment, Jones. Get on out of here. You need it somewhere." And I stood up and I'm clapping just as loud as everyone. Jones turns back, looks at us. I yelled down, "Hey, Jones, ain't you got somewhere else to be? You needed somewhere else in this penitentiary. Get your fat ass out of here. His face, I know he heard me. I wasn't the only one who was yelling at the guy. Granted, this is the supervisor we're yelling at, okay? He could have wrote us up, every single one of us, for it. Did he? No. That was the end of that. He left. Raymond gets up, closes the door. Hey, you motherfuckers need to sit down right now. He's trying to tell us to sit down in the seat, and he cracks up laughing. We all sat down, and Jones is like, Raymond, he's like, y'all wrong for that. Y'all know y'all wrong for that. Then he passes out the shift assignments, and we just went on like a normal day. I wouldn't see Jones in segregation the whole rest of the time that I worked there. A few times that I'd get pulled to work over in Gen Pop, I'd run into him one way or another. Usually he was in 8 building, just absolute train wreck. It'd be a whole nother video to talk about that. But a lot of times when I'd get assigned to work Gen Pop, after that protected custody dorm incident, usually I'd work 8 building, probably trying to get me to quit too. And it worked eventually. And I'd see him. Hey, Carter, hey, are you working with us today, man? Yeah, I'm looking for Lieutenant, whatever the name of the supervisor there was. And I'd go straight to the lieutenant. I'd let him know I'd been pulled from Seg, was ready to go to work. Wouldn't even hardly acknowledge Jones. He tried to talk to me a couple of times. You could tell from his attitude he had definitely fallen from grace and was not having a good time. None of the officers liked being around him. A couple of times when I'd go in, they'd pull me over to the side. Carter, hey, you work with Jones and Seg? Yeah, he was supervisor. Oh, man, he worthless. He don't ever do nothing around here but stand around, try to talk to the females, buddy up with all this alpha. This dude, how'd you work with him? It's like, I needed my paycheck. That's why most of the COs that I did enjoy being time with, that's what we would say to each other when we talked together in the ODR. Like, man, how do we keep coming back here? And we all just say, we need that paycheck, man. That's what it was all about. So, I don't know what the final straw was for Jones, but I know enough of it mounted up that paroled himself out of Seg. And it actually got to be a better place after that. We had a new female sergeant report to us. I don't remember her name. She was good at what she did. She was hardcore. I always enjoyed working with her. It'd get tough because inmates would jack the slots. They do it on purpose because they knew a supervisor had to respond. And when she would come in, they had done it by design. Gunners were ready to start gunning when she came in. So it did make it tough, but that wasn't her fault. That was those shitheads. Folks, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, let me know. Keep the comments rolling in. I'll keep the content coming out as it comes to mind. Everyone stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Out.